All right, so we're going to talk briefly about the crane litter interface kit and crane operations. So we're going to have these kits sent out to all the rescue trucks. In the kit, you'll have the pre-assembled interface kit that will allow you to hook to a crane hook and then to your litter bridles. And it'll have the crane extrication checklist. And also a few cards that kind of show how to make those connections either with the Aztec kit for your litter tender or for your personal vertical system for the litter tender. So running through the crane extrication checklist, the first bullet is making sure that there's not an alternative, that this is the best solution to get the patient to the ambulance. That could either be because of expediency or it's the best for patient care because the alternative would be a very complex operation or be pretty hard on the patient. Second is that a special operations officer has been consulted on the operation, and more than likely that should be the rescue group supervisor that's consulting and saying, yes, this is the best solution. Next is that the patient is not going to be moved through any tight or confined spaces. The patient needs to be lifted into open air. If you need to move the patient through a tight or confined space, do that with a traditional rescue system. And then if the next best solution is to do the crane lift to the ground, that's fine. But through those tight quarters, we need to use traditional systems so that we don't injure anybody. The next bullet item is to make sure that you have direct communications between the crane operator and somebody at the starting point, somebody at the ending point, and with the litter tender that's going to ride the litter to the ground. That crane operator needs to have direct communications with those people. The next bullet item is make contact with the lift supervisor or job site supervisor. That may be somebody more in the command side of things than it would be in the rescue group, but somebody needs to make contact with that person and make sure they're on board with the operation that's about to occur. The next bullet item is in rescue strategy. So we have a live patient. We need to have a litter tender tend the basket with the patient from the start point to the end point. That person should be prepared to provide medical care for the patient should the crane stall, there be some sort of mechanical problem, or otherwise it takes an extended period of time to get the patient to the ground. That ensures that we don't abandon the patient whenever the crane goes to take off. If that patient is a BLS patient, then we can have a BLS provider provide that litter tending care. If it's an ALS patient, then it needs to be an ALS provider, and again, with the equipment to sustain the patient in case we have a crane stall. If we are in the recovery strategy, then we do not need to litter tend. We'll send the dead body by itself. The next bullet item is to conduct a trial run. That is an OSHA requirement. So what we want to do is we want to take that crane hook from the starting point to the ending point where we're going to stop at. More than likely that's at street level. Very common practice is once that hook gets to the ground is to have those ground-based resources attached to the crane hook, all the things you need to do to conduct operation. That would include your litter bridles, your crane interface kit, any sort of additional medical equipment that you might need to do the operation. That way on the return of the crane hook to the starting point, from that trial run, we can deliver all that equipment expediently. Again, that trial run is an OSHA requirement. It also confirms the competency of the crane operator. It identifies any obstacles that we would have between point A and point B, and again can help us deliver any equipment that we need to the rescue site. The next two bullet items have to do with the interface of the rescuer and the litter. And so once we get the patient packaged up, we're going to connect that crane litter interface kit up, hook that to the crane hook. The crane hook should have a safety latch on it, and then have the crane operator lift the basket a foot or two in the air. Once it's in the air, make that connection, whether you're using your personal vertical system with your ascending system and your ASAP as your backup, or you're using the Aztec kit as a mini haul to raise and lower you. Whichever of those two options you choose, make that connection. Once you have that redundant connection to the litter tender, have that crane operator lift it up in the air no more than 5 feet. Ensure that all the connections are secure, that the load is balanced. Once that's confirmed, they carry on the operation and send the patient to the